Live good today for a better tomorrow. Talk it out. Don't fight it out. The time by the Ministry of National Security is
6:30.
Thanks so much for joining us. This is Lead Story, the pre-debates edition. We're looking forward to the economy debates this evening. But before that, we have guests in studio and online who are looking forward to sharing their expectations going into those debates. Of course, we're going to be joined online by Dr. Christian Stokes. He's a developmental economist, and we have in studio two guests who are to my extreme right. We have Mr. Timar Powell. He is a graduate economics student. Am I correct?
I'm a graduate of the University of the West Indies.
Absolutely.
Where I studied economics.
He studied economics at the University of the West Indies. And I have Miss Kimone Roper. Kimone Roper. Kimone, you're going to share some other insights as well from your perspective as not just a civilian,
but a young professional in the IT space, being in the workspace for about 6 years and being a young professional who's interested in national development.
Absolutely. And so we'll be starting that discussion. We want to set the tone. I understand that as we are here, there's preparation taking place down by CPTC in Kingston, where the debates will be held later on at 9 p.m. So we start with the lady. You've been looking at the debates, I gather.
Yes.
And so what were some of the things you were expecting of tonight's debate?
Well, given the fact that these are the financial debates, I mean, on the one hand, you have the current government, who I think from the perspective of most young people have done a fair job in managing the economy. I mean, when it comes down to economic standards, there are benchmarks to actually measure and objectively state how well a government manages the economy. And I think not only on a national but an international level, Jamaica has been recognized as a standard to model and to adapt our practices and our policies because of how well the economy has been managed. So even though that's all good, it doesn't necessarily guarantee what's to come. So I would be interested in seeing how the current government proposes, what areas to focus on, how they're going to improve on what they've done so far, how they're going to address the concerns of different groups within the population. And then on the other hand, we have the People's National Party. I know that a lot of young persons might have seen things that are questionable just based on the past. So I would be interested in seeing how they're going to really alleviate our fears and how they're going to basically persuade us to vote for promises over proof. So I'm interested to see how they're going to, combat or to, strongly oppose things that they disagree with and how they're going to build on what has already been done.
All right, you mentioned something that I like, promises versus proof. And so while there are two critical sides saying we have promises, one side has some amount of proof that's recent, the other not so recent. So I want to bring you into the conversation, Mr. Powell, just brief expectations, and then I touch base with the developmental economist.
I see. Well, brief expectations of what to expect this evening, to build on what my colleague has said, to hear more about the plans that are being put to us for consideration, more about the achievements that have been promulgated from all platforms and what we have seen, and how, if given the opportunity, each will implement their perspectives.
Understood. Welcome, Dr. Stokes, to the conversation.
Yes.
Yes, so you can share your expectations now.
Yeah, so you know, I listen to a lot of things with interest, you know, you know, I hear, you know, you mentioned the talk about proof. You know, the Labour Party has been in power for 14 of the last 18 years. And at the end of this process, if you look at the surveys around the desire to leave the country as one indicator, the majority of young people want to leave Jamaica because they don't see a future for themselves here. So I say that to say that while it is clear that there are specific achievements on the macro numbers, on poverty, however that is measured, on unemployment, however that is measured, I think we can all agree that there's something still missing in the Jamaican dream that has left young people wanting. Otherwise, they wouldn't want to leave, right? So I'm hoping this evening to hear proposals, plans about how we actually move from the hard-earned macroeconomic stability that we are benefiting from now into growth and opportunity for current and the current generation and generations coming up. And I think that is to me, is the crucial issue before the country now.
All right, well, thank you so much, Dr. Stokes. And right there is where we're taking our first break. We'll be right back to discuss further expectations and critical issues around the economy right after these.
Millions of people are attacked by harmful mouth bacteria. The root cause of bad breath, gum problems, cavities, plaque, and tartar. That's why Colgate combined the best science and technology in Colgate Total. Unlike others, its superior formula fights bacteria and creates a powerful protective barrier for up to 24 hours to prevent them from coming back. Take control of your oral health with Colgate Total.
Stay cool this summer with Frigidaire and Panasonic in the Singer Summer Sale event. Frigidaire fridges and freezers are now at super low prices, so you can be cool and comfortable all summer long. And with up to 40% off bedroom sets and sectionals, you save big on furniture. Only Singer has 4 months for cash and 9 months no interest. Shop today. Offers end soon.
At Hawkeye, we work hard to develop state-of-the-art security solutions like our new Total Connect smart home automation system that gives you 24/7 access to control your appliances, lights, cameras, and doors using your smartphone, tablet, or PC. As the most trusted electronic security company in Jamaica, Hawkeye has the fastest response times to get to you when you need us most. Trust Hawkeye's Total Connect. Hawkeye, securing what matters most.
Welcome back to Lead Story. Good evening. I'm Nika Lewis. Joining me to discuss the matter of the debates this evening on the economy is Mr. Timar Powell, civil servant, young professional and undergrad in economics. And we have Ms. Kimone Roper, financial services and IT expert, as well as Dr. Christian Stokes, who is an developmental economist. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So before we went to the break, we set the tone with expectations. Now I want us to have a brief look at the teams that are expected to be performing tonight. I'll start with you, Dr. Stokes. You've heard of the teams, but just a reminder, on the JLP side, naturally, the finance minister, you're seeing them on screen. So Favour Williams, she's the Minister of Finance. She was previously an education minister, but for tonight, we need her financial strategist. Dr. Christopher Tufton, Health Minister, known for public sector reform and other things. Dr. Dana Morris Dixon, Economic Advisor and Innovation Advocate, also the Information Minister. So gather she's very grounded in information. Then on the PNP side, we have Mr. Julian Robinson, opposition spokesman on finance and planning. And we have Senator Peter Bunting. He's the former Minister of National Security, and he also comes with a business acumen. Keisha Anderson, I understand, is the treasurer of the People's National Party. She's an emerging voice on MSMEs and youth economic empowerment. What do you make of these teams?
Very strong teams. One never can tell, though, when it comes to, standing in front of a television and arguing your point. I think we saw that from the previous debate. But just looking at the names here, Dr. Tufton, composed. I expect him to have a very good showing. And on the PNP side, being somewhat familiar with the disposition of the two gentlemen, not knowing very much about the lady, except that she's highly qualified, I expect Peter Bunting to be very, very solid, and for Julian Robinson to make his points in his normal, calm, assertive way. And I don't expect a ton of fireworks with any of the persons I see on either side here, and expect that right after the jabbing, we should get into some substantive discussions.
Indeed. But what did you make of the health minister firing his shots in the financial debates, not the social issues debates where perhaps...
No, look, he is the health minister, but he's a very capable person. I mean, in my own mind, when Dr. Nigel Clark left, he was a viable candidate to be the Minister of Finance himself. So I don't think one should say, well, what does he, I know he's Dr. Tufton, but he's not a medical doctor.
Indeed.
And he comes with wide experience. I wouldn't put anything past Christian. He's gotten tougher and tougher over the years, clearer, more focused. On the PNP side, though, it would be very, very difficult to find a better banner bearer than on this topic than Peter Bunting.
Well, we have seen the manifestos of sorts and some of the tax relief and all sorts of things. Did anything appeal to, for example, young people like yourself, Ms. Roper?
Yes, I know of topical interest is the point about reducing the income tax from 25 to 15%, and though it's not a direct opposition on the PNP side, they have spoken about increasing the threshold. So I think those are 2 points that, especially with persons, young professionals, at this stage of life, those 2 points are of particular interest to young people, I'd want to believe. And so I believe I am especially looking forward to how each side is going to not only convey this policy point, but explain how it will be funded. Because as young professionals, we do have the intellectual capacity to understand beyond the promise, understanding how exactly it's going to work. So that's something I think we want to understand, the substance behind it.
Right. Any particular area of interest you are hoping that, based on these panels, you'll see coming out of these debates?
Well, that's a good question. Thanks for asking. I sat and I listened to my colleague, and I found it a bit surreptitious that the point she would choose is the one that was forefront in my mind. As listening to the political hostings and the comments that are being made and the various points that are being advanced from the respective manifestos, it would seem as if it's almost counterpoint in terms of the big ticket item.
Yes.
And I found it to be quite surprising that the position I see adopted by the opposition sort of presents a 180-degree viewpoint, if you may say, in relation to this very same point when it was first raised in terms of the threshold for income tax. Their strong opposition initially, now being packaged as support for this measure, and not just support, but the level at which it is being proposed is one that sounds a bit catching, eye-catching. However, it's one I view with, okay, how is it that this will be done? What will be the impact on our revenues? How will it impact the collection agenda?
All right, I'm being tasked to take the break, so we'll come back on the how right after these.
is paving the way to becoming a republic or future or choice. The time by the Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs is
6:45.
We want a piece for Jamaica. Yeah. Yo, what are you?
Oh man, none of that. No, brother, no, man.
Can I see you ever play ref? No game,
yeah,
no play.
Yeah, but a little ball game. No, I said, place when you come from, brother, I want to live good, man. I want to live good, brethren. No shake hand, I can play a little ball, brethren.
Really have to shake hand?
Yeah, man, and no badness, brethren. Just live good, man.
Come together as one and make the violence done.
The following is a paid announcement by the Jamaica Labour Party.
Providing for those who provide for our nation. The Jamaica Labour Party is doing more for our farmers. We've rebuilt over 700 farm roads, expanded irrigation systems, and reduced taxes on farm supplies. Plus, the first ever insurance plan for farmers and billions in loans and grants, helping them to the highest crop yields in over 10 years. We're planting for tomorrow. Put your X beside the bell.
The proceeding was a paid announcement by the Jamaica Labour Party.
Welcome back to Lead Story. The economy takes center stage this evening as we head to the polls on September 3. But before that, we have the national debates. Tonight will be the second of 3 debates. Of course, we'll be hearing so much more about that later on. But for now, we are joined in studio by Mr. Timar Powell, civil servant, young professional, and an undergrad in economics. But Kimon Roper joins us as well, and she's a financial services and IT expert, as well as Dr. Christian Stokes, a developmental economist. So we welcome you back with the how they're likely to fund these promises we've been hearing about in the manifestos around tax cuts and all the other fancy measures that we often hear about. Dr. Stokes, I need you to tell us how these manifesto promises are likely to be fulfilled and what it will mean for us.
I will use the vague language that we have seen in the manifestos and in public responses to these very same questions, which is that we'll phase it in over time, we'll reallocate resources, we will bring balance, we'll balance direct to indirect taxes. Both sides have left themselves off ramps, in addressing the issues. So I'm not. Look, the holes that would be created and what would be needed to be done to plug those holes, I think will at the end of the day be a price too high to pay, and that we need to continue to focus on the macroeconomic stability and pivot to growth, and adequate growth and social safety nets, I think, is what we need to stick to. But it's election time. It's good to walk around with goodies in the paper in your bag. Let me just say quickly though that you're talking about what should young persons be concerned with, and the storm gathering in the form of what we call artificial intelligence. Now what will eventually become general artificial intelligence. In the last week, I had a presentation. I needed a flyer. Normally, I'd send off to my graphic artist, and it'd come back to me in a couple of days. ChatGPT did it in 20 seconds. There's somebody I normally retain to do press releases for some institutions that I'm involved with. ChatGPT give me some nice, clean press releases in 15 seconds.
So 2 people out of a job in that area.
Yeah, the background for the entry-level lawyers is much better done by ChatGPT. The diagnosis by beginning doctors is much better done by ChatGPT. And just if you can think of where the technology has come in the last 10 years, right? Just think of where it will be in the next 10 years.
Yes.
All right. And I think we need to stop and think about that. That is the clear and present danger to the younger generation now in terms of how they position themselves to exist in a world where the traditional way of making a living just frankly is not going to exist, and not everybody can be the programmer that writes the large language models and so on. It's really perilous times.
You're anticipating, therefore, that these will form large parts of the debate tonight.
I don't know. I'd be surprised if it doesn't, but I'm saying, when we're talking about productivity and growth and employment, we have to think about this. If we catch an AI wave, we could grow without employing many more people or paying people anymore. So what do they do? What do you do with all of these folks, highly qualified, leaving UTech and UWI and all of these other fine institutions of higher education, bright people coming out of high school? What do you? The wave to use that human resource to grow, I'm afraid, may be passing, and the things that drive growth going forward may not involve so much the talent of our young people, and it's just an area of concern for me.
Oh no, the young people in the room over on this side. I'll start with you, Kimon.
Yes.
You just heard what Dr. Stokes said. Are you concerned for your job? You're an IT specialist, so you may not be so concerned, but are you?
No, I'm not concerned. With the additional wave of AI right now, there's always the analogy of the calculator and when it just came around. And, with innovation comes the prod and the nudge to transform. And I do know that, digital transformation is something that will underscore growth everywhere. New jobs will be created, new skills are going to be, persons are going to gain new skills. And I know that on either side, our next government will have to have policies and initiatives geared toward creating the avenues for young persons to upskill and to get ahead of where the trends are leading. So I'm not concerned. If anything, it's a great opportunity to grow.
I know that there's a conversation now about how people can monetize digital platforms and all of that. Is there real merit to these new jobs, though, Mr. Economics over here, Mr. Timar Powell?
Thanks for bringing me in on that point. As the conversation progressed, I sat here and a thought went over and over in my mind. I am relating the comments to my personal experience growing up, having lived in an age that I term unique, to see the transition between where we were, say, 20, 30 years ago to where we are now and where it seems we are heading. And when I think back to the comments made by our panelists, a figure of late repute came to mind who was qualified in one of the traditional professions, yet made his wealth and fortune in a quite different sphere of business. So one isn't limited to what one studies in tertiary education in terms of where they'll go as an adult. And with the rise of the technology and the social media platforms, what I see personally, anecdotally, are opportunities for skilled and unskilled young persons to generate content, to use the technology to their financial gain and benefit. So whilst they may not be absorbed in traditional sectors, there are many opportunities for them to earn honest living. Now, the question that comes to mind with one of the traditional financial sectors is how are the banking policies evolving to make it easy for these individuals to integrate their gains legitimately and take advantage of the structured economy. When you think of revenue they may earn and how they may use it for other means, will it be accepted as collateral to access certain loans? Those are the questions that run through my mind. And those are the things I'm listening to here to see how policy...
MSMEs, startups, how much support we're getting in these sectors, how easy it is to do business in some areas, who can invest where and at what stage of your development you're allowed into certain markets.
Those are the questions that come to mind when I listen to the opinions of my fellow panelists.
All right, you know what? I want to know now if firstly you believe that these debates that will be happening, will it anyway sway the undecided or a person like you to go and vote for one side over another?
I'll answer that question this way. earlier I thought about the fact that young persons are perceived to be interested in politics and political drama. Yet when I cast my mind to some of the content I've personally seen on social media, some of these skits and memes are cutting directly to the heart of some of our social issues that redound to the heart of our political community and our political livelihood. So when I hear of persons saying young persons aren't interested in what happens during these debates, I wonder if I'm living in a different reality.
Dr. Stokes, what say you?
Look, let me back up a little bit. I think the optimism that I hear from the two guests is very important, okay? I think that we need to be clear-eyed as we listen to the debate, just giving a different perspective here.
Yes.
In that we must hear, but we must also look and see. I know what you're saying. It's the political season. People are trying to throw out red meat and to get votes. We understand that. But at the same time, that vote is important. All right, and what I'm hearing is that people have what I'm hearing from this generation is a clarity on what they want for themselves in the future, and I think that needs to be reflected in the vote and not be taking sugar for salt or salt for sugar, as would be said in one of the more popular songs of the time. And I'm frankly optimistic, you know. And the debate is a thing, but the direction of the country and what I see young people doing makes me very optimistic.
All right. So my final thoughts are with you, Ms. Kimon.
Well, just to